Thanks for joining Kathy Prokop and myself. We had a month off. It's back to school for the kids and back to the Mayor's Report from Twinsburg. Kathy Prokop is here. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you, Jeff.
You believe school started already?
I know, it went so fast.
We didn't have June or July, so that's why.
I think that's why.
All right, we got a lot to talk about. Let me jump right in. These are projects that have been going on, but they're very big and they'll be very helpful when it's all said and done. And one is very close to you where you live, and that's Chamberlain Road's sewer project. So where are we going with that?
Wow, it's really moving along very quickly, a lot better than we anticipated. There's a lot of rock.
I thought so.
A lot of rock in that area. But nevertheless, they're even a little bit ahead of schedule, which is good. So they're keeping the traffic moving, they're keeping the project under control, keeping it as clean as they can, and it should be done by the end of September.
Actually, I've had to cut through there, being footballs around the corner a couple times, and the way they have the traffic going, you don't sit there too long, which is
right.
Good.
It's moving, and and that's not a real wide road. So
no,
it's pretty,
it isn't.
You're right there. They're doing their work right there in the right of way, and it seems like it's very close to the cars. But again, they're doing great, and the restoration work will be the problem for this year. We'll probably get to that in the spring.
Because it'll be too late.
It'll be too late. We'll get some of it done, but
what kind of? And I'm sure this takes a thick skin, but as I'm driving down there and I see everyone's front, quite a few front yards that are ripped up because of where this thing has to go. Do you get a lot of backlash from that, or do people pretty well understand?
It has a whole different look there now, doesn't it? When you're riding down the road, it really has changed the character in that area. But no, we're not getting any at all.
Okay.
They years ago, when we proposed putting in sanitary sewers, they were not interested in that area. But over the years, a lot of their septics are failing. It's very expensive to replace them. The county
there's a lot of newer things over there now, too.
Absolutely. And then the county does inspections now. You get fined if you're not
true.
up to code. So we've gotten to the point where those 13 homes, they all wanted their sanitary sewer line, and they're being very cooperative and working through it with us. It does take patience, and it takes a lot of understanding.
But again, it moves very smoothly if you're over that way, so I was kind of impressed. Something that was bad also, and this isn't really you, it's more of the county or the state, and that how bumpy Route 91 was. And thank God they've come in there and really done some paving work. Is it done yet? Where are we? Is it curing still, or there's that in-between period?
No, we're ready to roll. In fact, they striped it, there's some detail work they're finishing up, but boy, I'll tell you what a difference. It is wonderful riding it. So thank you, ODOT. We appreciate it. We were definitely at the limits of how long we could let these roads go, Route 82 and Route 91, and just in the nick of time.
Do you think people don't realize that that's, if you're riding down the road, says, doesn't the mayor riding these roads, how bad they are? Those state roads, you have no control over when they get over. You
put on the list.
You can put on the list, but you're at the mercy of them as far as when it gets done.
Right, and if it's further out than you want the road to go, then you have to pay for it yourself. Mm-hmm. So I know we limped along for the last couple years, but sometimes you limp along so that road is paid for, which is what happened, and makes a big difference in our budget, so we can do other things.
The nice part is that's going to be done. Eventually, you're moving ahead with that roundabout, I'm assuming, down the road. Okay.
Yes.
And between Macedonia and the work going on Route 82, a lot of that has been redone, and they're going to be wide up to you guys when it's Phase 3 is done for them.
Up to Chamberlain, up to Shepherd Road.
Right.
So our project, though, goes from Post Road now to Glenwood.
Okay.
So that's the area, if you can avoid it. They're still moving utilities, and we're still doing a lot of prep work over there before we actually get to the road reconstruction. But obviously that's Route 91. That was not repaved because we'll be repaving it as we do our project.
And we're mentioning all these big roads. I'm sure your road paving project's been going through the summer, that sort of thing, on a lot of the residential areas. Are you almost done concluding that up, or does that go well into the fall also?
Well, we're just about done with those two. One of them that you may have noticed is Twin Hills, that runs between Ravenna Road and Route 82.
Right.
That was just redone. The Young Explorers School is over there, and it's opening up now, so that's really great that all those roads are finished in that area. So our residential roads, everything is wrapping up for the year. We're buttoning it up.
Oh, good. Let's get into some new building, and this is the Maplewood what now?
It's the Maplewood Memory Care, and this is on
First off, where is it?
It's on Route 91.
Okay.
It's a little hard to describe. It's north of Old Mill. So if you know where Old Mill 91 is, it's it's the vacant property north of there. And Mosswood Lane was a small road, and this is all off of Mosswood Lane, a beautiful, beautiful area back there. This is going to be a first-class memory care. There's going to be 4 pods, and they're secured pods for people with dementia, Alzheimer. I've seen the plans for it. I've seen the location, and it's beautiful.
You know, and I know Miglerini and Macedonia officials have really added that kind of building into their area the last few years, where a lot of places didn't have this. Are you seeing the need now as the population ages, and a lot of people want to spend their whole life in Twinsburg, and
Absolutely.
You need things like that?
And according to our last census, the older population in Twinsburg is growing more than any other age segment. Right? So it really is. We have lots of nursing homes. We have lots of skilled nursing. We have rehabilitative centers and memory cares, but again, a good need for all of them.
And if I think my figures right, wasn't there well over 100 jobs coming into town once this thing is done, which is, always helps you out.
Yes, it does.
All right, let's talk about, at one time I remember kind of sadly talking about how much vacancies was in the city as far as buildings and that sort of stuff. And recently, your industrial area, you only have 3% left as far as vacancy right now, and that's a great sign.
It is a great sign. We were just amazed when we did our latest survey that we only have a 3% vacancy rate in our industrial properties. So that is tremendous. I mean, the other side of that is that we don't have a lot of space to rent out, but with Cornerstone coming up, it's just amazing what we're accomplishing within our industrial business sector. Now, Cornerstone, FedEx will be open by the end of the year, but Bridgestone is already stocking their stock of tires. So Bridgestone, they're hoping within the next few weeks, in that spec building, they'll be ready to open up. And FedEx is putting in their conveyor belt right now. So that whole area there is going to be humming, I think, by the end of the year.
And I think a good example is when they finally put the roads in back there, which they have, because my weekend guy tells me he went already back there, which I don't know why he's nosing around, but the point is the concrete's being built for the streets and that sort of thing. And do you foresee when Bridgestone, FedEx get the doors open, it's going to draw a lot more interest once there's some activity going on over there?
Absolutely. And we just received an official job-ready site designation for the back of the property by the railroad tracks.
Yeah, right.
And the state gave us that designation on the property, which is tremendous, so that we can say it's a job-ready site. The developers can say that. When the commercial real estate people can say it's a job-ready site, it's recognized by the state. And we'll get a lot more coverage, a lot more interest in that property.
And that was one of the most attractive parts of it, was it was conducive to rail.
It has rail there.
Right.
So that's really a good place for manufacturing, a more heavy manufacturing than what we have going on this side. But with 167 acres, we're probably with a little less than 100 acres left. So there's lots of property there to be developed.
Right.
But our established areas, to get back to that again, a 3% vacancy rate, that's the lowest we've ever had. Mm-hmm. And from what we hear, it's probably one of the lowest in the entire area.
And when you think back of how sad it was when Chrysler left, it looked pretty bleak there. And to be at this other end certainly feels much better than the other way.
It did. I think we do a good job marketing our city, not just the commercial real estate people, but our residential real estate people. When I talk to them, they say that the houses in Twinsburg turn over pretty quickly. And again, it's just because we're a great place to live. I really, truly believe that.
Throw in the library, the schools, and everything else. And
right.
Well, congratulations. That's great that things are really booming over there. Let me get into, let's review. And I was at the Twins Day Parade because I hadn't been there in ages, but I figured the number 40 was pretty important. Yeah. They had a big weekend and a perfect weather weekend.
They did. It was great. And over 2,000 sets of multiples registered. I look back at all of those events that they have every year. They have the big Twins Day Festival, and people come from all over the world. And I think to myself, why? It's got to be more than just being twins. Mm-hmm. It's fun, it's funky. It's just such an unusual, such an unusual theme that it attracts so many people, and it's a great time.
And being that it was a landmark 40th, I'm sure they got a few that may not have gone for a while either. But you're right, I saw Japan, Australia, Sweden, I think.
Bolivia.
You're talking not just down the road
Australia, yeah. It's amazing. And you have fun. You get to meet people from different areas, and it's just an amazing, amazing event.
Okay. Let me ask you about, is the CIC, and we've talked about them a few times, do they continue doing work behind the scenes now as far as mainly the square, I think is what the main focus is on, and any budging as far as what's happening with this old school or anything? Have you heard anything? I know they're still doing asbestos maybe, or has that been done?
Asbestos is the next project, the removal from the building. And again, we're still trying to secure money for the asbestos removal. So we're working on that.
And that's not cheap either.
No, that's an expensive undertaking. The CIC, though, continues to meet. They continue to talk to investment people and developers and the property owners, trying to put together a viable project for the redevelopment of the square. And we're all hopeful that someday it'll happen, but it's a big job.
And I saw an article that was kind of, I think, giving an update on them and what properties the city would have to obtain to really do their focus down the road. And I mean, we're talking the bank over there, I think, was one of the properties. Yes. I mean, it isn't just let's buy this guy's yard that he's lived at. There's businesses there. How do you go about securing that?
That's been the problem all along. It's that whole southeast quadrant, and basically from the post office all the way up to Route 82.
That was another thing, right?
We'd love to get the post office involved in the project. But anyway, there's so many parcels that need to be assembled. The city cannot do it on its own. We're not a real estate agent. We don't have that kind of money to purchase all those properties. So that's why you have an organization like a CIC or a CDC to work with developers to come in and assemble the properties, to purchase them all. And that's where we're at right now.
I'm a little confused, though. What happens? Do you ask the U.S. Post Office to build elsewhere and buy that property, or do you ask this bank, could you put another branch up, or how does it work when you want to secure those properties?
Well, any of those things could happen. I mean, we have met with the post office, and they're not very receptive to moving that building or selling that property. And really, I think that the post office building is so large, it's not kept up very well. I get complaints all the time about that post office property. And I think if we were able to incorporate it into this overall project and relocate them either to another location across the street or into the new project,
right.
It would be a better situation for all of us. But that's my opinion.
But also, are you in the sad boat of there are $1 zillion in the red as it is, the U.S. Post Office? Why would they want to invest and build a new building when they're having so much trouble nationally?
I guess, but why not divest yourself of a piece of property that's big, is that big, and probably has a lot of overhead. But again, my opinion.
Right.
But yes, as far as the bank, that would be an ideal thing, is that if the bank would relocate into the new project. So it'll take years. There's lots of discussion. There's lots of negotiations that have to take place. But those are all scenarios of what could happen.
But this is what you have to do leading up to those years when they do make those decisions. This is what takes the longest.
This is what takes so long, and that's why you have to have an organization dedicated to making it happen, because otherwise it's not going to happen. Each parcel will sell off to somebody, and you'll have
individually, right?
And you'll have a disjointed. You won't have a project. You'll have just redevelopment.
This, and this, yeah, checkered. Have the CIC got over that initial complaint that they were kind of a secret group behind the scenes? I know you've involved much more of the public now, which I got to assume helps you out.
It does, and the website is up. I believe everybody's aware that the meetings are open to the public. In fact, we're putting together a brochure that will go out to the households so they have a complete understanding of what a CIC is.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to communicate as much as we can.
All right, let's take our break. Time to look at the meetings for September in Twinsburg, and then Kathy and I will be right back. back with Kathy Prokop, and I want to talk about, I don't think people like this get enough good press, or any press, really. The Emergency Assistance Center, there's a couple of them, and I think there's one in Twinsburg, over here in Northfield Center, but they all work hand in hand. They recently had their Fill a Bag.
Feed a Family.
Or Feed a Family and Fill a Bag, and,
yes.
and they were able to, this was mind-boggling, the amount of food they were able to get together. Do you want to put a plug in for the...
I absolutely will, because Bruce Harris started this organization called Food to Share. And he implemented a program in the businesses that they're given a given week where they fill bags up of food, and then volunteers come in and collect it, and that food goes to the Emergency Assistance Center.
Okay.
So it started with Food to Share. And then he grew to another program called Fill a Bag, Feed a Family. Started it in Aurora. They did it, I think,
right.
earlier in the year.
Yeah, they did.
And we did it just a couple months ago in the city of Twinsburg at the end of June. And we collected over 24,000 pounds of food. It was an incredible week. The amount of volunteers, I was just amazed. There were over 300 or 400 volunteers.
And I got to think, the emergency assistance centers, when the kids are off of school and they're not eating at school, the people that need the food is in the summer, and that's when probably the supply goes down. So it's a perfect time to restock
right.
their shelves.
Absolutely right. The pantries, the food pantries, really have high demand during the summer seasons. So we were amazed at how our community stepped up and not only volunteered but donated food. A local company donated their warehouse for 3 months to stock the food, so that as supplies are needed at the Emergency Assistance Center, they have a location to take them from. It was just incredible. So thank you to our community, to the volunteers, and thank you to Bruce Harris for getting this idea.
A lot of times people don't hear about things like that.
I know they don't.
So it's good to get that out. All right, talk to me about this. Showed my age. I was shocked when you said your fitness center is 17 years old. I about fell over when you said that. So when any building gets to be closer to 20, you have to do some repair and that sort of thing. And I didn't know this has been ongoing. You just did something with your indoor track, I believe?
We did. We do a pretty good job with keeping our equipment updated. We try to rotate equipment out on a regular basis. But the building itself, you can scrub and you can clean, but you get to a certain point where 17 years of people coming in, day out, using everything, it shows wear and tear. So I'm a big proponent on maintenance and maintenance items being replaced constantly. So this year they did the running track, and the running track has been all redone. So next year they'd like to put new floors into the court areas. We're looking at the locker rooms being redone. Everything needs to be updated. The building is the building. The building looks great. It can be there for 50 years, but if you don't take care of the inside, people will stop coming. And we have over 7,000 members now. People love the building. They love the equipment, the programming, but we need to step it up a little bit. So we have a lot of capital items in the budget for the fitness center, and I'm hoping council will approve it. But I think that they have the same.
Well, and I think a good example, if you're happy with the fitness center you're attending and paying for, you'll keep coming back year after year. And I know a lot of places the numbers don't stay at 7,000, because of the fact that it starts running down and that sort of thing. And you've been able to maintain that. So this is kind of getting ahead on the curve to make sure you don't lose any of the existing ones and hopefully gain some when you add new programs.
It makes a difference. Just like our outdoor pool. Our outdoor pool was built in 1993. It's 22 years old. And this year we replaced the entire, it was a cement bottom, but we came up with, after some investigation and looking at other pools, there's this liner, and we put a new liner into the pool. We put it into the locker rooms, redid the slide, we redid the decks. Everything looks beautiful. We have new sunshades. We have the solar panels.
Yeah, to go there, you would think it's new.
You would think it's a new pool. It looks so great. But if you're going to invest in that kind of asset, you need to invest in keeping it up and keeping people coming back. So.
Well, when we're talking recreation, that sort of thing, update us on the golf area as far as, are we still working towards that clubhouse?
Good question. We are. We're in phase 2 of the course improvements. I just talked to Brian Menard this morning about the driving range. He said the driving range is packed. We have that new great big driving range, the putting green, lots of different improvements on the first 9 holes. So now we're working on hole 10. We're doing tee boxes. the irrigation system on holes 10 through 18. So the course improvements are underway, but so is the clubhouse. The clubhouse is going to be presented to council. They just went before Planning Commission. They just went before ARB. They're going to council tomorrow evening. And council will look at that clubhouse, make some decisions on if they want to go ahead and bond it, find the financing for it.
You know, and just the few that I've talked to sound like they're pretty much on board for this. And it is the way to go as far as maybe making some money, you know, because it is subsidized a lot, I suppose.
Yes.
But you get banquets and wedding receptions and golf outings and that sort of thing. Eventually, that brings some nice income in for it, too.
It will. The banquet center, the hall, is proposed to hold about 220 people.
Good size.
And then you have a restaurant, which will be open all year long, the pro shop, a snack bar. We get requests all the time, even for business spaces, for locations for people to hold business meetings or seminars, and this would be a place that could be done also.
So that is in the pike as far as being discussed by the council real soon.
Absolutely. The site plan, the elevations for the clubhouse, the interior of the clubhouse, that's all ready to go to council.
And this just popped in my head, don't ask why, it's stupid. Going back to the rec center, is that sandwich shop doing well?
I think so. I haven't had a report on it lately, but I don't hear anything.
But I know they made the change, and that's why I never asked you since then.
Yeah, I think they're doing pretty well because Derek was just talking today about adding some additional tables. So I think if you're adding more seats, it probably means it's doing well.
Speaking of Derek, he wound up yet another successful Rock the Park season recently.
Ended with the biggest concert of the year.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
The Bon Jovi group?
It was Bon Jovi and Journey cover bands.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful evening. He said... I wasn't able to attend that night, and I go to most of them. But anyway, he said the place was just packed. It was rocking. It was a beautiful evening. And, again, the biggest one of the...
And while we're on the subject of that, I wanted to mention, again, going back to that Cost of Freedom, a lot of the favorite weekend deal as far as that goes was that Pops concert. A lot of feedback that I saw online was people raving about the Cleveland Pops Orchestra they had, too.
What an opportunity. I mean, there's so many people that have not been able to experience the Cleveland Pops, and to bring it to your community. And we brought a busload of veterans from the VA hospital. Mm-hmm. They sat in the first couple rows right in front of the Pops at the concert. It was an incredible experience.
Something that will probably continue again next year, I'm assuming, because it's so successful now.
We do have this was our third year with the Cleveland Pops.
Right.
And they love the venue.
I'm just talking Rock the Park.
Oh, Rock the Park,
yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Okay. Tell me about the Cleveland Clinic. Just opened something recently, too, that was on the board from the minute they said they were going to move in there.
They opened a 1.5-mile Rasinger Community Trail. And the Rasinger family, of course, were the big benefactors for the trail. It's a beautiful trail. The Cleveland Clinic, they believe in healthy lifestyles, whether it's through healthy eating, through exercise, and for them to install this hiking path on their property, invite the community in.
Is that for both staff and rehab for people that need to get out and walk around? Is it open to both?
It's open to them, and it's open to anybody who wants to go and walk that trail.
So even if you wanted to go there, you can go there.
And you can too. We'll have to walk someday. But you just go up and park your car, like on the far side of the parking lot, and access the trail.
That was a huge selling point, though. I remember when they came in and said they were going to do that. I remember that being at like the top of their list of things they wanted to get done over there.
And again, they had to find the right people to help fund it for them, and they got lots of benefactors.
Didn't take long.
And they did it.
Okay. Tell me about this aquatics team of yours, because I understand
they're pretty amazing. This is the second time they've done this recently, and they took the states for the competition in life saving. So we're very, very proud of them. They have extensive training there. Brandon Burns does a great job, safety first, and has well-trained lifeguards.
Yeah, I would say these are the people that handle your rec center, handle your outside pool.
Absolutely.
And the thing there is there's always some kind of upgrades being done, so I'm assuming he's got to stay on top of the latest CPR techniques, et cetera.
He does. In fact, one of the things that I forgot to mention is that the Red Cross did an unexpected visit, and so you're not aware that they're there, and they were there one afternoon. And again, we ranked very, very high in their inspection and won this North Ohio Regional Lifeguard Competition. So congratulations to them.
Right. And another thing that spills into how you finish so high every year in the Cleveland Magazine, and let's get into Money Magazine now, because they also ranked you?
Well, we've been in the top 10 of Cleveland Magazine for many years, and I think we were number 36 last time in Money Magazine, but this year we were number 22 of the 50 best places to live in the country. So number 22 is pretty darn good, and we are very, very excited.
As your months go by and we get closer to you being done, you're going to miss a lot of it, but I'm sure there's a lot that you're not going to miss about the job. However, watching the city grow and get all the kinds of these accolades along the way, and I know you're very modest, you don't take credit for all this, but it's got to be very self-satisfactory knowing I have a great aquatics team if you were to have an issue with our pool. We have a great library, it's ranked number 1. You have so many different things on top of the obvious, very safe city, very good schools. It's very impressive that it's good. It would be a good time to leave because, you know, you're really at a spot where everything's doing well.
I'm very, very proud of the community. When I saw that ranking in Money Magazine, I was just delighted. Mm-hmm. The first thing they mentioned, of course, is education, because as your schools go, your cities go.
Yeah.
And we have a first-rate education system in the Twinsburg City School District. One of the things that they mentioned are the activities, the accessibility to things like hiking trails.
Yeah.
Every one of our residential areas can access a hiking or a biking trail or a park system. We have over 2,000 acres of parkland, and we purchased over 1,100 acres in the last 16 years.
Right.
So that system more than doubled. We're very proud of the senior programming. We transfer.
That's huge because there's not a lot of cities that go out and purchase the vehicle to take these people around and make sure that they have things going on. They have their own facility where they're able to do their own thing and have speakers come in and help with identity theft and things along. It's very rare, but on the flip side, you got a senior group that's very active and I put their meetings up every month. They're constantly doing something.
Always. And again, that van service that we have, we take them within a 10-mile radius to doctors, 5-mile radius for shopping. We do over 7,000 senior trips a year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously a service that's needed, and we're happy to provide it.
And as you build more of these places that have more elderly involved, you need to have a lot more transportation, that sort of thing. All right, well, let me close things down here with asking you about November's ballot. Of course, next month we will begin having candidates come in and tape their candidates' dialogue here. But there are still a handful of issues that appear other than candidates, and most of the time it's rezoning, and I don't think it's any different this time. Is that correct?
We have rezoning issues, and these are city rezoning issues, a property that the city owns, and we're looking to rezone it into into residential, especially right next to the golf course over there. We have a lot of commercial in the city of Twinsburg. I really would like to see this go residential. It would mirror the condominiums that are already built around the golf course. So I think it would mesh really, really well in that area. And with a new clubhouse and a restaurant, it could be a great place to live.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, being that it's still a little early, we don't know the numbers of those issues, but next month when I have you on, since you won't be rerunning, we will have those numbers for you at home. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks,
We are done for another month. Please join us in October as Kathy returns.